Okay, boys and girls, it is time to continue with our grammar skill of verb tenses. Let's review our objectives for the week. We are learning to identify past, present, and future verb tenses, use tenses correctly in writing and speaking, and identify and correctly use helping verbs and past participles. Let's review from yesterday by matching. We have our terms over here, past, present, and future, with our meanings on the right-hand side. Will happen later, has already happened, happening now. Pause here. What is the meaning of past tense? If you said has already happened, you are correct. What about present tense? If you said happening now, you are correct. And finally, future tense. That's right, will happen later. Now let's tell how each verb changes depending on the tense, past tense, present tense, or future tense. We have our options over here on the right-hand side using the linking verb is or are, then the verb with ing at the end, using the linking verb will with the verb unchanged, or just adding ed to the end of the verb. Which one shows past tense? Pause here, think about that. That's right, you just add ed to the end of the verb. What about present tense? You got it. You use the linking verbs is or are and add ing to the end of the verb. Now finally, future tense. You got it. We use the linking verb will. Great job, boys and girls. What a great review. Let's see if we can identify some past tense verbs known as past participles in these sentences here. Let's start with our first sentence. The actor has learned her lines. What is the past tense verb there? That's right, learned. How do you know? Well, because it has ed at the end of it. Now let's try the second sentence. They have performed many plays. Can you find the verb? That's right, it is performed, and we noted it is past tense because of the ed at the end. What about this sentence? They have watched that movie 3 times. What's the past tense verb here? That's right, it is watched, and we know it's past tense because it has ed. And finally, she has liked the movie as well. Can you find the verb here? Yes, it is liked, and we know it's past tense because of the ed at the end. We know normally like ends with an e. We just don't add an extra e. We drop the extra e. Now, what do you notice about each of these past tense verbs, also known as past participles? The actor has learned her lines. They have performed many plays. They have watched that movie 3 times. She has liked the movie as well. What do you notice? Well, I'm sure you notice, like all regular past tense verbs, they have ed at the end. But did you also notice that they all have a linking verb? Has learned, have performed, have watched, and has liked. Past participles are often used with a helping verb to show exactly when in the past an action took place. These helping verbs include has, had, or have. Keep this in mind when writing in the past tense. Now let's take a look at our thinking questions. Does the main verb end in ed? Is it used with a helping verb? The actor has learned her lines. She has liked the movie as well. Also, when writing sentences and paragraphs, we want to make sure that we use the same tense throughout. So we use all present tense verbs to show actions in the present. If you're writing a sentence or a paragraph and you're writing in the present tense, make sure the whole entire paragraph is in the present tense. Use all past tense verbs when writing about the past. Once again, if you're writing a sentence or paragraph in the past tense, make sure every verb is in the past tense. And finally, use all future tense verbs to write about the future. So if you're writing sentences and paragraphs in the future tense, make sure that every single verb is in the future tense. I buy a ticket and go inside. What tense is this in? It is present tense. We know this because the verb buy and the verb go are both in the present tense. You would want to make sure that both of these verbs are in the present tense. It would not make sense if you said, I bought a ticket and go inside, or I buy a ticket and went inside. You want the tenses to be the same. Here's another example. I watched the movies and enjoyed them. Notice that both the verb watched and enjoyed are past tense. They match. They are the same tense. It would not make sense if you said, I watched the movies and enjoyed them, or I will watch the movies and enjoyed them. It wouldn't make sense. You're describing two different points in time, when we should describe one single point in time. In this case, the past. Here's another example. I will write about the movie. I will list reasons why it's a good movie. Notice that the verb write is in the future tense with will write, and the verb list is in the future tense with will list. These should both be the same tense, which they are. It would not make sense if you said, I wrote about the movie, I will list reasons why it's a good movie. It would all have to happen in the same point of time, like it is here in the future tense. Let's take a look at our thinking questions. Are the verbs telling about a particular time all in the same tense? You want to make sure that they are. And in this case, the most recent example we looked at, they are. So let's practice. We want to rewrite the sentence using the tense shown. So I want the sentence to be in future tense, and right now it's not. We voted on a movie to see, and then Dad rented it. How can we change this so that it reflects the future tense? Notice there's two verbs we would have to edit, voted and rented. Pause here to think about how this could change. Perfect. With both verbs, we will remove the ed ending and use the linking verb will. So the sentence now should read, we will vote on a movie and then Dad will rent it. Let's try making this sentence in past tense. Later we talk about the movies and name our favorite stars. We have two verbs that we need to edit, talk and name. How can we change this to be in the past tense? That's right. We have talked about movies and have named our favorite stars. In this example here, we added ed to both verbs, talked and named, and we even used the helping verb, the linking verb have. Let's change this sentence to be in the present tense. Movie stars always looked glamorous and wore great clothes. There's two verbs here that we want to edit. That's right. The movie stars look glamorous and wear great clothes. We change the verbs to their normal state, no ending, so that they can reflect the present tense. Let's choose the correct verb tense for the sentences below. We want to use the verb go. Tomorrow I will see a movie with my family. Then we blank out to dinner. Notice that the first verb see is in future tense. So what verb tense of go should we be using? Correct. Because we want to use consistent verb tenses throughout the entire sentences, we will also use the future tense of go. So the sentence should read, tomorrow I will see a movie with my family, then we will go out to dinner. Let's use the verb like. The scenery amazed me. I especially blank the scene at the beach. Can you use the proper verb tense of the verb like? Think about that. That's right. The sentence should read, the scenery amazed me. I especially liked the scene at the beach. We know that like should be past tense because the verb amazed was past tense. Let's try another using the verb buy. First we will buy movie tickets and then we blank some popcorn and drinks. Can you fill in the blank with the correct verb tense of the verb buy? The sentence should read, first we will buy movie tickets and then we will buy some popcorn and drinks. We know that we have to use the future tense of buy in the second part of the sentence because the future tense of buy was used in the first part of the sentence. And we want to make sure we have consistent verb tenses throughout our sentences. Here's another one. Let's use the verb like again. I love movies about cats. I also blank movies about dogs. Can you use the proper verb tense of the verb like? Perfect. We should be using the present tense of the verb like. I love movies about cats. I also like movies about dogs. We know that because the verb love in the first sentence is in the present tense. And we want to make sure that if we start out in the present tense, we finish in the present tense for all of our verbs. It's your turn, boys and girls. On Google Classroom, you have this slide here. You have some notes at the top to refresh your memory of the verb tenses and how they alter or change a verb. In part 1, you will circle the verb by clicking and dragging circles and identify its tense on the line here. So you would just circle the verb and then tell me if it is past, present, or future. You'll do that for problems 1, 2, 3, and 4. For 5 through 9, you will complete the sentence using the correct verb tense of the verb given so that you are using consistent verb tenses. So you're going to want to identify the verb tense of the first verb used and then use the same verb tense for the verb in parentheses in the second part. Part 3, you're going to rewrite the sentence in future tense. So you're going to have to change both verbs to reflect the future tense. Go ahead and show what you know.